Have you ever wondered if you're doing better or worse than everyone else when it comes to money? Maybe you're lying awake at night like Maya, checking your bank balance, and wondering if everyone else is secretly ahead. She scrolls through social media, vacations, new cars, smiling faces, and can't help but ask, how do they afford it? The truth is, Maya isn't alone. According to a 2025 report from Investopedia, 67% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Persistent inflation means groceries cost nearly 25% more than in 2020, and housing costs continue to rise. The Census Bureau says even homeowners with mortgages are increasingly overburdened. So if it feels like your paycheck doesn't stretch as far as it used to, you're right. For most Americans, it doesn't. That's why, in this video, we're going to pull back the curtain on what the average financial life in America really looks like, and what you can do to get ahead of it. The paycheck problem. Ethan clocks in early, works late. On paper, he's doing fine. A full-time job as a warehouse supervisor, earning around $80,000 a year, but he still feels like his paycheck vanishes before the month is over. No matter how careful he is, something always comes up. Gas, groceries, daycare, car repairs. He's not alone either. A recent Newsweek report citing Goldman Sachs found that 40% of Americans now have no spare savings and are living paycheck to paycheck, up from 31% back in 1997. Even more concerning, 74% of them said rising daily costs leave them unable to save for retirement. If the trend continues, Goldman Sachs projects that number could climb to 55% by 2033, and an alarming 65% by 2043. Another PNC Bank survey gives even more alarming statistics. 67% of workers say they're living paycheck to paycheck, up from 63% just a year earlier. For people like Ethan, it's not about bad choices. It's about a system where costs rise faster than paychecks. And unless something changes, average could soon mean barely getting by. Every day, expenses and debt. Rachel Reynolds and her husband both work full-time. They've got 2 kids, a mortgage, and what should be a solid 2-income household. But every month, their paychecks seem to vanish faster than they can track them. Groceries, car payments, childcare, bills. No wonder, since the average household spends about $5,577 a month. That's $67,000 a year. Almost everything they earn. According to data from The Motley Fool, the average American household carries over $6,500 in revolving credit card debt. For homeowners, the average mortgage rate in 2025 is 6.57%. And the typical home equity line of credit sits around $45,000. Car payments take another big bite, $749 a month for a new car, $529 for a used one, and personal loan balances average $11,274. So even with 2 steady incomes, the Reynolds feel like they're treading water, because so much of what they earn is already committed before the month even begins. The saving crisis. Liam is 26, works long shifts, and dreams of finally getting ahead. Saving a little, maybe starting an emergency fund. But every time he sets something aside, life pulls it right back out of his account. Last week, his car broke down. The repair bill? $320. His savings? $40. And he is not alone. According to a 2025 report from Goldman Sachs, 42% of younger working Americans, Gen Z, Millennials, and Gen X, say they have no spare savings left after covering their basic expenses. It's not about lattes or impulse buys. It's that necessities now swallow nearly everything they earn. Home ownership alone eats up 51% of income, up from just 33% in 2000. While healthcare costs have jumped from 10% to 16% of take-home pay over the same period. For people like Liam, the math simply doesn't add up. Even when you work hard and budget carefully, there's often nothing left to save. Most people simply don't have the breathing room to save, and that's how an entire generation ends up stuck living paycheck to paycheck. The lifestyle illusion. On the outside, Marcus looks successful. He's 40, works in tech sales, and from the outside, looks like he's made it. Nice car, stylish condo, designer clothes, dinner out on Fridays. But behind the scenes, it's a juggling act of bills, balances, and minimum payments. Every one of his paychecks disappears into payments. The average American household is in the same boat, financing a lifestyle that looks rich, all on credit. According to Forbes, the average credit card balance varies sharply by generation. Gen Z carries about $3,400 in credit card debt, millennials nearly $6,900, Gen X a staggering $9,500. The highest of all, even baby boomers still owe around $6,700. And it's not just the balances. The number of cards tells a story too. Millennials average 3.4 credit cards, while Gen X and baby boomers each hold 4.4. Unfortunately, Marcus isn't alone. Many Americans carry the image of success on borrowed money. And with interest rates hovering near 20%, that good life can quietly become a very expensive illusion. When you owe everyone else, your income isn't yours anymore. You're just renting your lifestyle, one payment at a time. The retirement reality. Linda and George boarded this journey, thinking their decades of hard work would carry them to a comfortable retirement. They're 58. The kids are grown, and retirement is finally starting to feel real. But when they sit down to check their retirement accounts, reality hits. Their balance is $88,000. That might sound like a lot, until you do the math. Using the safe withdrawal rule, that's about $3,500 a year, or $300 a month. They obviously can't live on that. For millions of Americans, 40 years of work ends with a financial cliff instead of freedom. The median American has just $65,000 saved for retirement, and about 1 in 4 has nothing at all. Social Security helps, averaging about $1,550 a month, but combined, that barely covers the basics. The numbers speak for themselves. About 80% of households with older adults are either financially struggling today or at high risk of running out of resources as they age. Even more sobering, nearly 45% of older adult households lack the income they need to cover basic living costs. For folks like Linda and George, that means their future planning isn't just about building wealth. It's about managing shrinking margins and stretching every dollar to cover life's necessities. The intentional shift. Not long ago, Christina and her partner were in the same desperate financial situation, juggling payments and feeling like they'd never get ahead. But they made a few key changes that completely shifted their trajectory. They started saving 15% of their income, double what most Americans save. They set up automatic transfers so money moves to savings before they can spend it. They pay credit cards in full every month, no more interest traps, and they invest regularly through their 401k, whether the market's up or down. Financial experts say saving consistently, not perfectly, is the key, according to David Blanchett, head of retirement research at PGIM. Saving about 15% of your income is probably the right place to start. Lower earners can aim for 10%, while higher earners may need closer to 20% to maintain their lifestyle later on. Fidelity backs this up, estimating that workers need to replace 55 to 80% of their pre-retirement income to stay comfortable, with about 45 percentage points of that coming from personal savings. Christina and her partner have become intentional about their money. They automate 15% every payday, not because they're rich, but because they've learned that peace of mind grows the same way savings does. A little, every month, over time. beyond average. Emily used to start and end her days the same way, phone in hand, scrolling through other people's highlight reels. Vacations, new cars, smiling couples. It all looked like everyone else was miles ahead. And every time she checked her own bank balance, that quiet thought returned. I should be doing better. But something changed. Instead of scrolling, she started planning. She built a small emergency fund, set up an auto transfer to savings, and even opened her first investment account. Nothing flashy, just steady, quiet progress. And that's the truth about money. You don't have to be rich to feel secure. You just have to be intentional. The average American hopes things will get better someday. The intentional one plans for it. Once you understand what average really looks like, you can choose to be better. Spend less than you earn. Save before you spend. Invest with patience. You don't need to beat everyone else. You just need to beat the average.